Live. It's your main man, Evapors, back with another live. And I am so honored to have two giants, in my opinion, in the YouTube world, in the I8 world. None other than Pat from, well, I8 Pat from Pat's Garage Online and Dr. M3. Come on, man. Y'all know Dr. M3 as well, man. And today's conversation, I want to bring three unique perspectives of the i8. My perspective from a driver standpoint, from just having fun with the i8 standpoint. Pat, from his standpoint of being able to do different things with the i8 and that I had never seen done with the i8. And Dr. M3, how often do you get the one of the first owners of the BMW i8? And that's where I want to lead off with the conversation today. Dr. M3, man, if you don't mind just kind of
Yeah,
telling people who you are and
sure.
your introduction to the i8.
I'm just a car guy. That's why I refer to myself, a car guy in Pittsburgh. I travel all over. I don't have the i8 behind me. I actually brought the car that I know you like a lot. But
Yes.
all I have to do is do that, and you see my other baby behind her. So it's just sitting just behind that car. But I like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. I love cars. I'm weirdly enough one of the earliest YouTube channels that were out there, and I did it not because I wanted to be first, but I was again in the car community, the BMW forum, and back then I had a M6, and it had just come out with a new race exhaust, and there was really no easy way to kind of share this at the time, and this thing called YouTube was a way to share a 6-second clip, and that's what I did way back then. My first video on YouTube was a 6-second clip of a brand new exhaust for the M6 that I
Wow.
shared on the M5 forum, I think it was called at the time. It still exists. And that's kind of how I started. But I've always loved cars, and we can talk about how I got into cars. But that's who I am, just a car guy that loves cars, that loves technology and high performance and, exotics and performance cars. That's me.
And you know what? And thank you for that background. And it is really so unfair for you to have my dream car behind you. But I'm because it threw me off from the beginning when I saw it.
Yeah. Well, I figured you and Pat were going to bring the IA. So, of course, I had to make sure that the IA was there, but we've been talking back and forth online, and I figured I'd bring Purple Monte into the picture here a little bit. Just a
Yeah,
little distraction.
yeah.
That's
No,
right,
I
more motivation, not distraction, motivation.
yeah, yeah. And I appreciate that, man. And it's a beautiful car, and it's on my list, like my dream car to get the Huracan, man. And but before I go down that road, I'm gonna get back focused.
Yeah.
Um,
Focus.
Pat, Pat, man, tell everybody, man, who you are that may not be familiar with you, and your introduction to the i8.
Sure, absolutely. I'm really fairly new to YouTube, and I had just picked up the i8 back in February of 2019, and I just wanted to show people how easy it was to do an oil change. And from there, well, things sort of took off, and I had a chance to meet some YouTubers, and I was just out your way, Doctor. I was out just outside of Pittsburgh visiting Horsepower Obsessed this week.
Oh yeah,
Justin, yeah, and
Justin.
we were looking at the C8 Corvette, and he had an opportunity to drive the i8 for the first time. So there'll be some videos coming soon.
Good.
But I'm a Corvette guy. I started out as a Corvette guy in 1994 and had driven Corvettes up until about 10 years ago. Got laid off with the financial crisis, and I was looking for a new Corvette, and that's when I ended up seeing the i8 listed in Car Gurus as a similar car. And I said, what is this thing? I'd never owned an import my entire life. So
Really?
I dove right in, and the nerd in me wanted to learn more about the car. So I just tore open those service manual pages and read the forums, and there were more questions about this car than answers. So as I learned more, I shared what I knew, and then I decided let me model after Justin and provide like some DIY content and some instructional information about the car. And that's why I did what I did. And all of a sudden now I've become um, I mean, Eric calls me the I8 authority,
Come
but
on.
even on the I8 groups and the forums, I get tagged a lot. Like, people want to know my input, and I don't know everything. I just know what's in the service manual and what other people have experienced. So I'm just happy to bring it to YouTube and bring it to the car community. I'm a car guy. I sometimes I love working on the car more than driving the car, which is kind of weird. So I've turned into like the mechanic personality, even though my job is in information technology. So yeah, that's that's just how it is.
Man, I love it, man, and just to there are people that I'm sure are just being introduced to myself as well. I did 20 years in the Navy. I served from '92 to 2012, and I was fortunate to for the last 6 years to work right here at Fort Bragg as a GS employee, allowing me to continue to serve in a different capacity. And mid August, I made the decision to walk away from my job to focus full time on my 6 year old's education that's in first grade now. Because of everything that's going on in the world, we decided not to put her back in a private school in class. We're gonna do the online version. So I took the leap of faith, man, and said, hey, you know what? I'm a good steward of my funds. That my faith is high, and I believe everything's gonna work out. And people that's been following me for a little while, you see that things are working out. I also have a consulting firm that I started a few years ago, and literally I gained a big client after I left my job. So it's like, wow, once I left my job, things are kind of going light speed, man. It's almost like the laws of attraction, and it's just like you do your part, man. Everything else is just gonna fall in place, man. So with that being said, that's how we end up today with me looking at my dream car, with DoctaM3 sitting there, with me talking to a person I call my friend now, Pat, that knows the IA intimately and has been by my side at every step of ups and downs that I felt like I've had with my i8. Because I love my i8, man. It's a beautiful car. It's a fun car. Nothing gets that much attention. I hope that Huracan does. Yeah, I hope it does. I don't want to be disappointed. But we love the i8, man, and the three people you see on your screen with our three different perspectives, man. That's what I wanted to bring. And had it not been for YouTube, like DoctaM3 said, YouTube has provided all of us a platform.
Sure.
But I'm meeting people that are subject matter experts or has experience with things that I want to experience with. I want to know what it feels like to ride inside of a Huracan. Guess what? I can go to DoctaM3 page and find out. Before I bought my i8, I saw the video DoctaM3 did going to the grocery store. My wife was most interested in that video. You laughing, sir?
Really?
You laughing? But I had to get buy-in before I bought that car, because on my channel I called the i8 the ultimate family car, because you can go to the I proved it by showing your video. I said, baby, you can go to the grocery store. It's got enough room for the amount of groceries that we buy.
Yeah.
We're not going to Sam's Club buying the big bulk stuff. No, you can do that, and you can use the back seat to put more groceries in. And I have a booster seat in my back seat that my 6-year-old daughter, small humans, it's perfect for small humans in the back of the i8. DoctaM3, how often would you say over the time frame that you've had it, that you've actually used the back seat with small to medium sized humans?
I've actually used full-size humans. Actually, I have a video.
Oh, I saw that video.
So I had a video of how to get in and out. I will tell you that I also I've done a number of trips. Now, granted, full-size humans, I'm going to tell you, they're going to be uncomfortable. You need to switch every couple of hours. But I've driven that car from Pittsburgh to New York and back with 3 of my friends in that car, and we actually rotated, and that's actually where that video came from, how to enter and exit the back seat of the i8. And yeah, you're not sitting straight up, especially if you're tall. You're like this, and I hope you have some cushion on the behind, because you're sitting on one you literally are rotating side to side. But you can do it. And I would actually tell you that there's a video I did. I actually recorded this video a few years ago. And now that you were talking, I realized I never published it. I have a edited a video that says the i8 is in fact a family car.
What?
And I had my friend drive it with his wife and 2 kids. Now the kids at the time were, I think 3 or 4 years old, so they're small humans. But I showed how to put the seat in, how to put the booster seats in, and the kids were all excited. And I will tell you, we'll get to the fact that, you know, the i8 is, I've had people call that car a Lamborghini. We'll talk about that later. But it's far more practical. That's the reason why I've had this car. This is probably the longest daily driver that I've had. And I just watched Pat's video. You know, it's kind of scary a little bit, but I've already made the decision that this car is going to be a permanent part of the collection. I'm never getting rid of this car. I'm keeping it. So there you have it.
Wow, that's amazing. Again, me saying to my wife that it's the ultimate family car, and then you actually shot a video with that same concept. I probably could have had my eye earlier had you released the video when you recorded it, sir.
Probably. Let me tell you this. That shopping video, by the way, is, I think it's probably at 5 or 6 million views right now.
Whoa.
I had invited a bunch of YouTubers to Pittsburgh to do an event, and that video was shot. I mean, and we're going to talk about this. Some of our best videos are the most simplistic videos. I mean, I've done cinematic stuff, and they get sort of views. That video, I was literally walking out of Sam's Club, and I was like, oh, I'll just shoot this. And because we had bought this grocery for all these YouTubers who were coming, I was like, you know, will this fit in the BMW i8? And women, if you look at the stats on that video, women, more so than any of my other videos, love that video because it was the simplest thing: unpacking groceries into this thing and showing how you do it, and it's ridiculous. I think it's like 5 or 6 million views now, or somewhere around there.
Man,
it's insane.
I can believe that. Me and Pat, when we talking about this last night, about the video that I did, the super 30-second video that I did, BMW i8 race. I was not trying to shoot a video, DoctaM3. I literally was just recording my car. I just bought it. I was just getting a little bit of footage. I wasn't doing YouTube back in April. I loaded it back in April.
Yeah.
And it's got thousands of views. And no music.
Your retention percentage is the highest on that.
Yeah.
No editing, no intro, no editing, no cards, no nothing. I spent 0 time. I loaded it from my phone to YouTube, standing outside in the driveway. Then I will spend a whole hour and go Spielberg on y'all and get views like I was talking about eating your vegetables. You know, so it's amazing how it works, man. But I love how you shared that how the most simplistic video that you did literally is going bananas. Do you have other videos that are close to that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. You know, I've done like all the different kinds of cars. I've done European delivery. I mean, I just love cars, and it's not just exotics. You see, the channel is like everything, right? But I would say my most popular videos are my reaction video. There's even a reaction video of the i8 in New York City. Remember, the car was brand new then.
Yeah.
And I mean, people were just like, first of all, it completely I was driving in New York City, completely electric mode. So you see this thing that just doesn't look like anything else. And people are just like going nuts because they can't quite figure it out. I'll even tell you that a perfect example of this. I was at a gas station a number of years ago, pulled in, opened the door, and of course it goes up, and this guy.
Uh-oh. Audio cut out.
Yeah. I think his he must have had an interruption.
Right in the middle of his story too.
Yeah.
Like a good one.
Oh, hold on. He muted by accident, I think. Yeah. Hey, while we're waiting for Doctor to get situated there, man. Hey Pat, just kind of tell us a little bit about what we were talking about last night about some of those simplistic videos that, you know, that maybe you shot that has going, in the upper stratosphere without even trying?
I can't think of any off the top of my head. If you want to go ahead and try to reach out to him, see if we can get him restarted.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. He's back.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You were telling the story.
You were telling the story. You said the doors went up at the gas station, and we totally lost it.
I know. Oh, great. So, all right, let's pick up from there. Doors went up, and it's like, no, it's a BMW. He's like, no way. Look at the doors. And he went around, and he took his phone out, and he took a picture of every panel of the car, including the BMW logo on the front. And I'm there pumping gas, right? And he walks away. He's like, cool BMW, like awesome. I'm sorry, cute, cool Lamborghini. I love it. And I didn't have the nerve to sort of kind of correct him. And I'm thinking in my head, he's going to go home and show his buddies that he just saw this Lamborghini. And he's going to show them the BMW badge, which was right there. And they're going to be like, buddy, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
But it is what it is.
Man.
I was saying that the most viewed videos on there are my reaction videos. And that happened just because I tell my friends, you wouldn't believe I'm driving the Garda Superleggera that I had. He wouldn't be. He'd leave the stuff I hear, and they're like, no, people don't say that. And one of my friends, after a photo shoot, was with me, and he still had his camera in his hand. And it literally was, he's like, oh, crap, you're totally right. I'm going to shoot this. And he started recording as we went down this busy street in Pittsburgh. And that's how my reaction videos start. Now, they're fun, but I don't want to just do reaction videos. I want to do lots of other things. But anyway, those are my most popular video. But this I8 one actually blow those out of the water. It's just amazing.
Wow, that's crazy. Pat, you were about to jump in?
The funniest thing I ever encountered when I was at Walmart, I was hopping in the car, and there was a family parked a few rows down, but they were already inside the car, and the kids that were in the back and had the window rolled down and looked out, and they said, "Is that a Bugatti?" And I said, "This is a poor man's Bugatti. We'll call it that." And I just said, "Thank you for the compliment." And I laughed. So that was the best one I ever got.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, actually, yes. It's a Bugatti i8.
Yeah. And you know what I will say, I've seen both of you guys use your cars, whether it's the i8 or the Lambo, for events, like drive-by birthdays, raising money. I've seen y'all do that, man. I want to just give y'all people they flowers while they are alive, and it's like, man, I really appreciate y'all doing that, because those are things you don't have to do. Yeah. It's just something that I think more people should do, and when they see it on a YouTube video, I believe that it's inspiring. You may not hear back from Ohio, from Canada, or wherever. There's somebody that said, you know what we're gonna do, man? We're gonna do a drive-by at this kid's house. We're gonna raise money for this particular group, man. Is that something that y'all often do, or where does that come from to make you put time in it, Doctor, if you don't mind starting?
Well, I would say this, right? My passion for this and why I do this is not to go, and that's the reason why I have mixed feelings sometimes about the reaction videos, because I'm not out there just to show off, right? One, I want to use the medium that I have to motivate and to inspire people, right? Mm-hmm. For them to say, yeah, I can do that too. And originally, my first YouTube videos, I wasn't on camera. You would see dust the car or whatever, because I was trying to say, people were asking, who is this DoctaM3 guy? And then you'd see a couple of my friends, and in fact, a bunch of my friends were all different races. So people didn't know who DoctaM3 was for like 3 or 4 years. And I had the channel. But the point there was that anybody, the viewer, in fact, the point of view videos, I did some of the first ones in car, where it made you feel like you were actually driving the car. And the point of that was to make you feel and motivate you to be all that you can be, right? It's don't believe the idea that you could never achieve. And sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? Oh, I could never, Pat, I could never own a Bugatti. Yes, you will. And we're going to be back here in a few years, and Pat's going to tell us, about how he bought that Bugatti Chiron or something. Right, Pat?
I think I'd rather rather have every generation of Corvette parked in a garage. That's my
again, but the point there is that, you know, I wanted to make people, and that's why I do it, right? I love making people's day. I love motivating people. And that's kind of what I do. I mean, I don't really, and again, would I love to have more subscribers? Yes, but I would prefer to have an interactive audience, people that I talk to. That's why I respond to all of my, you know, all the people that comment on my videos. I meet them in person or whatever, and I'm happy to talk to them. And I think those are the genuine YouTubers, and you guys are, you know, the same thing too. Always willing to help, and that's the community. That's the real automotive community, if you ask me.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you said that too, because you know when I first saw you on Will Motivations channel,
Oh yeah. Oh
I
well.
I, I
That's a
saw
good
you
guy.
on Will Motivations channel, and I was like, okay, I need to go to this guy, you know, go to this guy's channel, see what he's
Sure.
doing. I was like, oh snap! I should have been here from the beginning. Why didn't I see him come up in my algorithm? So I've been following you since then,
Sure.
and I was kind of hesitant to reach out because let's just be honest. I've reached out in the YouTube world, and I think some of the larger YouTubers look at how many subscribers you have, and they're like, oh no, you know. And I talk to my friends like this. I say, I'm 47 years old. I grew up completely poor. Walked to school with holes in my shoes, going to neighbor's house, asking for food, going to school just to have a meal. And I've been blessed, man, to rise out of that situation, serve my
Sure.
country for 20 years, learn how to make multiple streams of income. And I'm blessed to say I'm on my back porch right now, and we built this house on a golf course in a premier neighborhood here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, you know, I'll meet a YouTuber they've only done stuff on YouTube the last 2 or 3 years, and now they have 700,000, 800,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
look
yeah.
at me like I'm dog meat.
Yeah.
When they really could tap into the motivation, tap into the life story, tap into, hey, I know about mutual funds and investing and saving money, and I would love to share that information with you. But a lot of times they'll discount you and not even recognize you. So initially, you know, I was like, I'm not gonna really reach out. I'm just gonna, you know, follow, watch the videos, and enjoy the content. But as I began to grow fonder of you and saw how many things we had in common,
Yeah.
specifically the i8 and the Huracan, I was like, I gotta at least take a chance, man. Will is cool. I've met Will, not met Will. We've talked on the phone, like cell
Sure.
phone talk before. And I
Sure.
said, Will's a good guy, and I think if he's around this person, he's a good guy too. So thank you, Dr. M3,
Thank you.
man,
Appreciate it.
for just tapping into what I've been doing. I see you making comments and stuff, man. The first time you made a comment, I ran and told Pat.
Yep.
I said,
So
look,
he comments on my stuff all the time.
see, Pat made me feel bad. Pat was like, oh, he comments on my stuff all the time. I was like, okay, this is my moment, Pat. I said the guy with the Huracan and I straight pinned it too. I pinned it. I said, let me pin this comment and screenshot it in case he go in there and delete it. I don't know why he would do that, but I said just in case he deleted, I got proof that
That's what we need more of. We need people who are higher in that YouTube status. I mean, everybody puts a label on it, right? You get that subscriber count, and all of a sudden, you know, you're famous, and you are to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. Seeing a comment from DoctaM3, it's a huge deal.
I don't think for me, I think of it differently, and and the truth is, in reality, yeah, there are YouTubers that are way bigger than I am. And I mean, again, my YouTube channel started in August of 2006, which was what 6-7 months after YouTube became a thing.
right.
And there are people that have now, you know, started a channel 2-3 years ago, and there are 1 million subscribers. I think I'm like 130, mid 130s or something like that. But I think the trap is for the folks who are genuine car enthusiasts that are about the community, for them to benchmark themselves against some of those people, because some of those people, and again, it's a small YouTube world. I know a lot of those people. Some of those people, I could tell you that I mentored, right? That I, back then when their channels were nothing. And a lot of them are really good, solid people. They're in this because they love what they do. They love the car community. But there are also some people that just kind of do it because to them it's strictly a business, and it's about the catch this and doing things that are probably outside of the boundaries of most of us would do. Like, there are things you will never see me do. One, because I think it sets a bad example, and we have to remember that there are a lot of different kind of people that watch our content, especially people that are impressionable. And that's not the kind of person I am, period. And that's not what I want to project or encourage people to do. So I think, just if you love what you do it well, be a part of the community. And, long term, we've seen a few channels that have sort of spiraled out of control. And, that's what happens when it's not built on a solid foundation and built on the foundation of the car community. That's been my approach from the beginning. So I don't worry so much about the subscriber counts. I grow, and I'm growing, and I'm engaging with people, and that makes me happy.
Man, I'm glad you said that, because on the line of cars, I've had a lot of comments, and I appreciate all the comments, man. So y'all keep sending the comments in. I love the feedback. I get different suggestions to say, hey, man, I know you've been talking about a Hellcat. You should get a Hellcat because it'll do very well on YouTube. Or you should get the C8 because the C8 will do good on YouTube. And at first I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But what you just said made a whole lot more sense. I don't buy things for YouTube, so to speak. I started my YouTube channel, and I have this thing called MCM, and it's not Man Crush Monday, even though I'm some people's Man Crush Mondays, you know what I'm saying? Hey, sorry.
It could be Mama Crush Monday.
It could be Mama Crush Monday. It could be. So a lot of moms out there, they love your boy Evapors. But it's money, cars, and motivation, or motivation, cars, and money. I am a motivator. I love motivating people, inspiring people.
Sure.
I understand that the material things catches people's attention. So if the cars catch your attention, and we're talking about cars, you love the way they look,
Sure.
you leave motivated in life and with some financial structure, because I love talking about budgets and how I went from poverty to where I am now. So with that being said, man, on the whole car thing and YouTube, I did partially feel like that when I bought my i8, that it would have some impact on YouTube. But let me tell you what y'all probably know this now. I mean, I've searched around YouTube. I'm looking at the i8 people right now. To be honest, there is not a i8 channel. Oh yeah, everybody know i8 Dave. Yeah, man. No, it's not. Are either one of you, and Doc, I'll let you go ahead on this first. Do you make those kind of decisions now based on your channel size?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this for the channel.
Let me tell you this. It is full, and I want to make this clear to anybody who's even considering starting a YouTube channel. Actually, one of my buddies who's helps me do some of my videos and that does a lot of my thumbnails, I think he's probably on here, C8 Supercar.
Yeah, he's on here.
Yeah, so that's Matt. But I will tell you this, and this is reason why it's fool's gold, and it's literally a circular race that I'm telling you, you're going to lose. I've seen it. I mean, all you have to do is just look at some of the big YouTube channels. What they do is they buy a car, and it's a hot car, right? And then within 3 to 6 months, they've got to go to buy another car. And it's this constant turnover, because if you're not turning over cars and stuff like that, the feeling is that, folks lose the interest, and I've done as much as I can do, so I've got to go buy the next car, and I go to buy the next car. And I will tell you, because I know this for a fact, there are a number of YouTubers out there that don't really buy. They finance the cars, and so they have to make enough money to try to cover it, And the problem is, you're still on. A number of them are underwater, but the reason why they can't keep that car is their views are going down, so they have to buy the next thing to keep the viewership interested, and it turns into this rat race that they're constantly buying new cars, and they're, so they give the impression, and the truth of the matter is, realistically speaking, for the average person, again, you talk about motivating people and finances, it makes zero sense to be doing that constantly. Most people that are out there can't go buy a supercar or even just a high-end sports car every 6 months. It's not realistic. It financially and fiscally makes zero sense, but they portray this on YouTube and make it think, that, oh, I've got to do that. And there are people that probably mimic them and get themselves into financial trouble. So, I mean, my view is, I buy the car that I am love and I'm passionate about, and I'm going to share that passion with you, and hopefully I find a bunch of other people that find it interesting. I'll tell you about it and tell you the good, the bad, whatever, and I'll take you on some adventures and sometimes put you behind the driver's seat by doing POVs. But I'm not going to do it just because this is the hottest new car, and in 6 months from now I got to ditch this car to get the next one.
Man,
makes no sense. Fool's gold.
Fool's gold, man. Thank you for that, man. And Pat, are you in that mindset as well?
Yeah, it's tough, because when you get to a certain point where you're starting to see diminished returns, you start questioning yourself, what should I be doing? And I think really what it comes down to is enjoying what we do, and enjoying the cars that we have, and just sharing it with people. In fact, for me, I love to tell people, you can do these things yourself, and if you buy these parts from here, you never have to pay for them ever again. That helps people save some money. Or, like Erica and I had recently talked about, when it came to some of the problems with the i8, it was very hard for me to say, this is a big problem. It's going to cost a lot of money, because I own one of these things, and it's going to go down in value, right? Sure. So it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to even let the community that I am a member of, to let that community down. But Eric said, and he clarified it for me. He said, Pat, some of the best advice came out of your last video, because there are people out there that view the i8 as a dream car, and they're getting to that point where they have enough money to make the monthly, but they don't know what they're getting into. And that helped enlighten me a little bit, that there are a lot of people that come up to me at Cars and Coffee and say, that's my dream car. I'm like, hop in. Really? Yeah, hop in. Especially before COVID, I didn't mind people hopping in. And now it's a little bit more. I got my spray alcohol. But back then it was much easier. And take a picture with it. I don't care. I want to share it with you. It's here to share. Yeah. So I would do the same thing. I'd try to get that out there and try to help people understand what they're getting into, because they don't know. And I think when a car becomes reasonably priced for the average person to look at it and say, I can buy this on the used market now for $50-some thousand, it's now cheaper than a brand new Tahoe. I can get this, but you got to make sure you got your money in line, or your warranty in line. That's the only thing that's going to keep this car on the road is money. So I hope I can help, make people very aware of that as well. And I just want to say, Doctor, when I was looking at the i8, your video too of packing everything up in the trunk and coming back from BJ's there, one of the first videos I watched as well, because I didn't know what I was getting into, and I thought, this is practical. It's my daily driver. I put 22,000 miles on it since February 2019.
Wow, man. Yeah. Well, so that's a value, right? So I think we need to value that, even though the general public sometimes look at the shiny new object, right? Look where all the excitement is, and they go over there. But I will tell you, that last video that you just did, it's practical. If you think about this long term, that is far more valuable than somebody doing donuts in the middle of a highway, because of the wow factor, right? And so to me, and I think for the genuine car enthusiasts that have YouTube channels that want to impart, that's the stuff that's that's durable, that you can, 5 years from now, you can look back and go, yeah, and but on the point you made too, Pat, I think it's also true that any car that you buy, that's that's your dream car, you always have to remember that there are potential things that are out there, right? And you have to factor in, and especially if you're getting into exotics, you have to factor in those maintenance costs. And if you don't, so you actually have done people now a service. I mean, happily, I've not had any of those things. Actually, you've probably in the last I think you said 16 months or so, 18 months, you've probably put more car miles on your car than I do on mine. But nonetheless, people need to know that and be cognizant that it still may be a dream car, but I mean, I need to make sure that I reserve funds for for maintenance and so on. It's true. It doesn't matter whether it's the i8 or it's a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or it could be any BMW for that matter, right? So I think that's really important to keep it in mind. And so you've just done people a service. If somebody's going to go buy it, one of the things they're going to look for and going to ask the question is, what about this condenser, right?
Yeah, and both of you guys just laid out the groundwork, in my opinion, to the average person. We just say the average person that is entering the ability to buy this type of car, and specifically for the i8, we're just getting into those cars coming out of warranty.
Out of warranty, yeah.
Oh, we talk about the BMW 3 Series. We can go back to the 70s and 80s. They've been making 3 Series forever. Yeah. We can talk about we know their track record. The track record is just being established. Okay. So if we're hitting 2020 and the 15s, well, I know they came out in 14, but we're in that territory of people turning leases in, sure, first time on the used market, and now we're seeing how durable these cars are at 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 miles. We're seeing it for the first time. There is not a guide. BMW doesn't have a guide on their website because we're all entering this. They don't know. They don't even know. This is the first time that their car hit 5 years old, 6 years old. Yeah. So we're all finding out in real time. And in the Navy, we would say, we're painting the ship out to sea, baby. And we do that, and we do that. True. The ship is out to sea, baby, and we're gonna paint it before we pull in because we want the ship to look nice and pretty on our port visit. But it's difficult to paint the ship while it's moving. So with months and months continuing to go by, issues arising. The only guide that literally, I'm not saying this because Pat is here, that I've seen is Pat's Garage Online. And again, I want to thank Pat for documenting the joys. This is not a beat up session by any means. This is just more of a historical documenting this historically, the joys, the highs, the lows, the concerns that someone would have. And my biggest concern is for the individual they've been working so hard and they scraped up all their money. And I would hate to see them, I feel like I'm at a casino, to go all in. Look at me, I got how much chips, baby. to go all in and bet on black. Yeah. And then they get a $9,000 repair bill. Pat, what are some of those things, if you don't mind just sharing, that we've kind of discussed that have been becoming common with the i8?
Well, some of the more common issues, at least for some breaking points and some failure points. Windshield stress cracks. People have noticed that the stress crack will start up at the roof line and extend over to the A-pillars where the doors open up. And I think it's actually causing stress on the very outer painted glass because there's a piece of plastic in between those two. It's all melded together. And I think that's pulling. So that happened to me, but it happened to other people as well. And when I took it to the dealer and I said, here's some evidence that it's happened to other folks, that was repaired under warranty, but some other folks couldn't get it repaired under warranty. They were declined. So I said, go out there, have zero deductible glass coverage on your car. It's much cheaper than paying, I think it's like $3,000 for the windshield.
Mine was $3,500.
Yeah, it's insane. So watch that. You're gonna have some maintenance things that you're unaware of, like the door struts. that the doors start creeping down. That's a maintenance thing, and it's not very expensive to fix. But the more expensive stuff that started popping up here recently, there were a few folks that had some engine failures, where the timing chain guides started to give out, and I'm like, change your oil frequently. But I bought a service pack, and once it comes up on the screen, oil change is due. I take it in. You could have 12,000 miles on the car by the time that comes up, depending on how you drive. Don't do that, because if it's out of warranty, now you're paying $10,000 to $20,000 for an engine. Or, in this most recent case, the air conditioning compressor. Why is that thing failing? Nobody knows. And it's sending metal throughout the system. And typically that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but because they cool the high voltage battery, that becomes a huge expense. And some folks are being quoted $18,000. In fact, I received a comment just the other day. A gentleman in Puerto Rico bought his BMW i8, and after a couple days, the air conditioning just turned off. Like, no noise, no nothing, just off. Wow. He took it to the dealer. They said it's got to be about $8,000. And then when they went in and they determined that there was metal in the system, they said, I'm sorry, but it's now $18,000. He can't sell the car right now. It's not in condition for sale. The air conditioner doesn't work, and he's in Puerto Rico. So he has to pay this money out of pocket just to sell the car. And that's a problem. I'm trying to wrap my mind around the data points to try to determine, the number of owners we have. Well, there's about 20,000 cars out there. How many of those people are on the internet forums? Maybe 10%. And out of that, what percentage have this problem that are talking about it or have had it? So we're talking about a small subset here. The only people that really know that kind of data are the BMW folks. Sure. And I just hope, I really, really hope that, by me, and I know Eric has posted a lot of videos as well, that we get someone's attention to get them thinking. Because just like Porsche has a campaign where the Cayman GT4 6-speed manual transmission, it loses third gear, and there was enough of that happen, and they said, when you bring your GT4 in for service, we're replacing the transmission. No questions asked. Can we get to that point? Where can we get some relief without having to go to, a lot of pains as an owner or hurting the brand? We don't want that. We'd love to be able to have this cooperation where, everybody realizes there's something defective with the car, and it would really be beneficial to help take care of that. We don't want to put a bad image on a brand. Sure. And we really just want to educate people. And we want a little bit more. We want a little bit more back and forth. But I tried. I reached out to people months ago before I ever released that video. But those are the main things. A lot of people ask about the battery. The battery's warranted for 8 years or 100,000 miles, and it's not designed to, even though your charge is 0 miles, there's like 30% charge left on it. And when it's full, there's still 70% charge on it. So it has a lot of life. The lithium lasts a long time. So, but those are the major things, at least I have right now. And as I'm gathering more data, I'm going to post more. I will have a video coming out soon to talk about coolant issues, because there have been issues with the coolant system. And unfortunately, it requires a full drain down and a vacuum source in order to fill it back up, kind of like the Porsches have, or any mid-engine car for that matter. And it can be annoying to have a coolant leak and not know what's happening. You go to top it off, you end up lowering. It's the whole, everything's balanced. So you have a coolant leak, so your reservoir goes down, and then when you open the reservoir, that goes up, which creates an air pocket back at the mid-engine. So now you filled it up with coolant, and you feel like everything's okay, and then you get an overheat warning, and you get a warped head or something like that. So we need to talk about that next.
And just on the whole line of the different issues, some of y'all know, most of y'all know that I had the cracked windshield. I had that literally 2 days after I bought it. I don't fault anybody for that. It was literally a rock jumped up on the highway from a big truck, and I took care of that. My insurance was $100 deductible, not a big deal. I had the AC compressor replaced. I was noticing it. Well, first of all, I was noticing the cooling abilities, but more than that, I started hearing a buzzing sound that I recorded, and before I even made a video, I shared it, with Pat and with some other folk. Like, hey, do y'all hear this? Like, my car is making this sound, and literally Pat was like, oh yeah, that's AC compressor, boom, 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 boom. So when I took it in initially, it wasn't diagnosed properly. So I took it in twice while it was still under warranty. My warranty went out in March, literally when COVID hit. So there was kind of a pause, a timeout on bringing cars in. So once I was able to bring it back in, I want to say April or May time frame. That's when they said, "Oh yeah, it's the AC compressor," and I was like, I told you it was AC compressor when it was under warranty." So now it's like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna cost $5,000." Boom, 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 da da da. So I reached out to BMW USA via Twitter. I posted a video. I said, "Hey, my car is making this sound. Could someone contact me because I have some questions about what I'm hearing." So they had someone call me, a gentleman named Alec. He called me, and he said, okay. He called the BMW dealership, and long story short, they did goodwill. So instead of me paying like $5, I paid a little over $12, almost $1,300, which was good. They didn't have to do that. So fast forwarded to maybe a month ago. Yeah, a month ago, because they still have my car right now. It's been gone for almost a month now. I came home. I backed in the driveway as Mr. Cool always does. I back in. You got to back in. Be cool and everything. And I put it in park, and I heard a little click, and I said, "Hold on, what was that?" So I said, "Let me pull up, make sure I didn't touch something, run over a little can or whatever, something in the driveway." It wouldn't go. I said, "Whoa, let me put it in reverse." It wouldn't go. That feeling you had back in the day when you had the parking brake that you pull up, and you tried to drive, the car would kind of do like that. So I had that feeling. And then I looked at my screen. It said electronic parking brake malfunction. And it had a couple different things where I looked it up, and it was like, well, you might just need to reset it by cut it off, the reset thing, the cycle, three times, whatever. Then it said, well, you may need a BMW update. So you type in the VIN number on the site. So I typed in the VIN number, and it was like, no, your car doesn't need an update. So literally the only other option was pick up the phone, BMW app, hit the BMW app, roadside assistance, and they came and got my car. And that was interesting, getting the car on the flatbed, because they brought this long flatbed, and like it was reaching from my driveway across the street. So he had to pull it problem. So he had to put it on the street parallel, like with the flow of traffic. So literally I had to drive it with the parking brake engaged. I went just and then got it on the street, and then he was able to pop out the little tow hook thing. And then I drove it up the ramp. I had to teach him that you can't strap the front tires down and no, it's not that type. No, can't do that. BMW say you need to use the tow hook and flatbed and all that. Don't bring out the truck with the raise the front wheels up. I had to tell them that on the phone. So with that being said, they've had my car, and they told me yes, the electronic brake malfunction, and that's an $800 fix. Not a problem, but on some of the boards, I've seen those issues when I was Google searching, those electronic brakes coming up. But then they tell me, well, your check engine light was on, and I said, no. I said, that's what I said. I said my check engine light was not on when I brought the car in. So they was like, okay, well, it's on. The technician is saying that it's on, and it's a SME unit. SME. Now in the Navy, SME stands for subject matter expert. And I don't think I have an issue. I'm a subject matter expert in my line of work, so there's no SME issue here. They said, no, sir, we're talking about SME. It's a module. I said, oh, okay, SME module. And this module communicates the small battery, Pat, help me, and the big battery. Can you kind of give you a little more technical detail on that?
Usually the SME module is off a 12-volt battery on any normal car, any normal BMW, modern BMW. But for this particular one, the high voltage battery charges a 12-volt battery. They talk back and forth, and this SME module is actually inside the enclosure of the high voltage battery, So for them to replace it, they got to take off the coolant lines, drain the air conditioning, drop the battery down, open it up in order to get to the SME module, which is a ton of labor.
Yeah. So on that note, so they text me. They use a text service now. Look at DoctaM3. Pat, you done got DoctaM3 nervous. That man has never been nervous in his life until now. Oh, but let me continue as we move the conversation forward. So they have my car now, and they texted me the other day that the technician was having issue programming the SME. So he was reaching out to BMW. I guess the technical gods in the sky, wherever they're located at. I don't know if they're in Germany or if they're in South Carolina or if they wherever they're at. So he's reaching out to them, and that's still been a couple days that I haven't heard back from them. But I'm confident because the guys up front, the service what you call them, the service representatives, advisors. Man, right locally here, man, they're great. All of them are great, man. Really good guys, man. They keep me informed, but they're not working on the car. And I'm in a smaller town, Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, North Carolina area, and they only have one iCar. I think it's an iCar certified technician.
Yeah.
So they only have one iCar certified technician, and that's just kind of where we are, having one. Maybe his experience. There's not a lot of eyes rolling in. I'm only aware of 3 in the area, and that might be a lot for this area, in such a small area, and 2 of them are owned. One is owned by a military service member, and one is owned by a friend of mine. He's a tattoo artist here locally. So I don't know how many eyes they see, but they had an issue programming the SME module. So I'm kind of just in limbo, which has, in a good way, sparked my mind to say, what kind of car would I add? So now I get to wonder, I get to dream, I get to dream a lot now. I get to dream, what car would I add to the garage, or what kind of car would I replace the BMW i8 with? And believe it or not, people have been saying Hellcat, and I could go get one today. C8, I could order one today. Pat, you want to jump in real quick?
Yeah, I just, before you go on to that next subject, I want to dovetail off of what we've been talking about is some of the issues we've been experiencing.
Yeah.
I want to know if DoctaM3 has had any issues he's willing to share or talk about, obviously, even if it was covered under warranty.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, Eric's right. I mean, I've been, and my car was one of the original ones. So you would think that, some of these things I would have experienced. And on the other hand, I don't have 40 or 50,000 miles on my car. I think I am at 27, maybe 28,000 miles.
I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So, the only things that I've had happen on this car, well, the door struts, but that was switched under warranty. Actually, it wasn't even that it was falling down. It was just like, it's a regular thing that they do at a certain point, I think.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I had done. And then I had one other issue with the fuel door remote release. That happened, but honestly, other than that, I've not had, I gotta find some wood here. Yeah, that's right. That's not even. So I've been remarkably fortunate. I mean, here's, and I'm not saying this is what happened to some people, but it is true just in cars in general. I mean, if you look at some of even BMW's recommendation, you don't have to change the oil for X number of miles. And sure, it's designed around that. But, I tend to maintain my cars. I tend to care for them. And you're right. The i8 is unique amongst all the BMWs ever, right? Because this and the i3, and I would make the argument even more so, the i8 is a far more complicated set of systems that, honestly, now that they're electrifying some of the other model lines, they've learned a lot, I guarantee it, from the i8. But it is unique in the design and setup and just how these systems even communicate with each other. Even when you're talking about the drivetrain system, I mean, it is so unique to any other thing that they've ever designed that, the cars are getting older. These things are going to happen. But I would almost say, I mean, and I just actually had somebody ask me whether to get an i8 or not, and I kind of talk through them and say, hey, here are the things to look for. Here are the issues. But and then you hear what gets, I wouldn't say sensationalized. What you hear most about are the really bad things. But there are a bunch of cars that don't have that. And to your point, Pat, what we don't know is the stuff that we're talking about. Is it a 0.5%? Is it 1%? Is it 10%?
Yeah.
And I think the value of what you do is that if there are enough people, then it's now public. And again, I know a bunch of people at BMW headquarters up in New Jersey, especially the I headquarters. In fact, when they were shocked that I had asked for winter tires. When that car came out, I asked for winter tires. They didn't anticipate that people were going to actually drive this car in the winter. In fact, the chief executive, wasn't the chief, it was the person involved, vice president for the I brand, he had literally just ordered a set of winter tires, and he thought he was going to be the first one. Of course, my order came in, and of course, being a customer, they gave it to the customer. They had to get it out of Germany because there were not winter tires for this car. Yep. So I know that they still remain sensitive about this, and I think if there are enough documentation of these kinds of things, I am hopeful, especially if we've got people on the internet, people that are in forums that come to them and say, hey, we now have X number of these. This is a design flaw. And I'm hoping that those kinds of things, and that's a service, Pat, that in many ways I think you serve by putting those honest videos out. But I've been pretty fortunate with mine, and I hope it stays that way. I think it's a unique car. The good thing is out of production now. I don't think anybody it was never copied while it was in production. It's a unique design. And I think it's going to sit in a very unique place in BMW history for sure. No question about it.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's my personal use of the car. I never expected it to open doors like it has, because a lot of people put it in a supercar category, and I've been invited to participate in supercar related things, and to dovetail off of what Eric had said earlier about, getting into the helping people grow, donations and things like that. I was invited to go to these types of events because of the car. So it's actually opened some doors for me, which is kind of cool, because you can get, it's more of an entry level into that environment without being a true supercar. But I know where Eric was going too. He was starting to head down the road of talking about that Huracan. And I'm also curious, deep down inside, not everybody knows it, but deep down inside, every other day I'm on Car Gurus looking at Huracans. But my problem is, and I'll admit this, like, I saved up when I got laid off and I didn't have a sports car for 10 years. I saved up for 10 years and I bought this car used cash. So now I don't have enough debt. I don't have like a history of debt. I couldn't go out there and pick up a Huracan right now at all. It's too expensive. So, it's kind of hard to even step into that environment for me right now, which kind of, it's a little letdown. But I'd love to add something like that to the garage, because there are supercar events that I get invited to that I'm like, I know I'm the what is this thing? This really is a supercar. So, I'd love to be able to pull up, and red's my favorite color. So I'd be able to, and there are a couple red Huracans I've been looking at. Yeah. But I don't want to rain on Eric's parade. So Eric, you keep talking.
No. You're right in line of when I was saying about dreaming. So now I'm dreaming, and I've always had 3 different scenarios to get to the Huracan. Well, the first scenario is my financial status changes. That's the first one. So I can comfortably obtain it. I could get in it right now. Let's be clear. We were talking about it earlier. I could get in it right now, but I've already counted the cost of ownership, thanks to channels like yours and some other individuals that have shared cost of ownership, insurance, common issues, maintenance. So I don't do anything that I'm not comfortable doing. So with that being said, I have a couple different scenarios of some cars that I can afford comfortably. The Hellcat, whether it's and I would think the Hellcat Challenger Red Eye, the wide body. I've been looking at those. I've been looking at the C8. So and on Corvette, I built 2 of them. I built a convert. Man, look, I'm telling you, man. When I do something, I do it. I went on there and built me a convertible. It spec'd out at 80,000. I built a coupe. It spec'd out at 72. You talking my numbers now? 80 and down. 80 and down. Now, if you say $80,001, now I'm getting nervous. But if you say 80,000 and down, hey man, I feel comfortable. I can buy it.
Yeah.
I feel I can afford it with no issues at all. That's my number, 80,000. So with that being said, it's like, man, I have so many options, and the only thing that I've been hearing DoctaM3, it's crazy, man. Old school. 88 Monte Carlo, bam. 88 Monte Carlo. I remember being a kid watching this guy race up and down our little small town in an 88 Monte Carlo. Well, actually, I think his was 85. He flying up and down. I mean, he wore out every competitor in the small town. And I remember this like yesterday. This guy bought a Mustang, a new, probably was an 85 Mustang or whatever. I don't know what, 5.0, whatever it was back then. And he was looking for the guy with the Monte Carlo. And everybody was like, oh man, this Mustang, he gonna whoop the Monte Carlo, man. It's new. You know, the Monte Carlo been rolling for a couple years, man. He got a new jump, you know what I'm saying? Let me tell you what happened. We in the country, so they lined up at the railroad tracks. We in the country, little small town. At the railroad tracks. And we're probably up in my grandmother's yard, probably a good, quarter mile up the road or whatever. We looking down there like, okay, they gonna start. Next thing I know, they didn't have Applebee's back then. They didn't have Applebee's and Applebee's back in 85. But let me tell you, I saw the Mustang about 3 seconds late coming by. So I'm just like, man, I literally woke up one morning and said 88 Monte Carlo. And this is not an accident. I believe everything happens for a reason. I watched this podcast on YouTube. It's called New York in Your City. And he interviews a lot of car people, male and female, or whatnot, right? Tell me, the morning that I woke up and said, 88 Monte Carlo, tell me why his guest that day was an individual named the real Mr. G-Body, owner of a Chevy Chevelle, I think it's an 88 Monte Carlo. You see where I'm going. So I said, okay, this is not an accident that I woke up today and the podcast that I listened to, they're interviewing a guy that is an expert, SME, not a module, but a subject matter expert on these cars. So I say that to say, I started following people that he's following.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing YouTubers that he follows, and these guys are into the donk scene, the G-body scene. Some of them have the 22, 24, 32s.
Yes.
34s.
Do it.
Some of them, it's crazy. It's crazy now, but that's a different lane. So I started following this guy called SS Life on Instagram, and I saw some like a you notice if somebody has a blue check mark, a verified account.
Yeah.
So I saw several verified accounts commenting on his videos, and I saw this one guy. He's like he's on a show called Wildin' Out with Nick Cannon. So he's on that show, and there was another guy. He's in the NFL. Long story short, I reached out to about 8 different people in that genre.
Sure.
Didn't hear back from none of them. Maybe they got the YouTube blues that we talked about earlier. I didn't hear back from any of them guys, so I'm just like, I heard back from him. And I heard back from the guy that was interviewed on the podcast that I watched.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a paragraph. And he gave me the phone number, and I called him. We were on the phone for an hour. We talked about the car probably for about 15 minutes. Everything else was literally like life, and he builds cars not just for money. He has a passion for it, and when he builds a car, he wants it to be a reflection of the person. And he said, man, I went on your page and I saw that you love the i8, and I see a concept car that we can do with the Monte Carlo that's a tribute to the i8. And I'm just sitting there like, talk to me, brother. Talk to me. You talking my language right now. You talking my language. And long story short, man, that's on the books right now to
Sure.
look at getting a Monte Carlo custom built, 88 Monte Carlo custom built
Wow.
I8 theme. So I'm saying it for the first time publicly. I'm working with SS Life.
Yeah.
He's up in Maryland, in the Maryland DMV area,
Okay.
and I'm looking forward to working with him on a custom Monte Carlo.
Nice.
we'll call it. I call my car the spaceship. We'll call it Spaceship 2, Spaceship 2.0, Spaceship Part 2, or Spaceballs 2. Y'all ever seen Spaceballs? The movie?
Spaceball. Oh, Spaceball is hysterical. Oh my god.
Yeah, man.
You
So
realize though that there are some people that probably are watching this are like, "What's Spaceball?" I mean,
yeah.
you gotta be of a certain age to understand the importance of Spaceball. This parody of a movie, classic.
Classic
Yeah.
movie, man. Yeah, it's one of those culturally. It'll bring you together. You know how they say, "Well, we pick on everybody." So we pick on everybody, make everybody laugh, and at the end of the day, it's like, man, we're all the same, man. We're all here on this
We're
earth.
all the same.
We're all here to
Agreed.
yeah,
I
live and love.
want to know what DoctaM3 thinks of that idea, and also what his car from that era, if he had a choice, what he would pick.
Yeah, actually, this is a good question. So obviously, right now, I don't own a vintage car, but I will tell you. So people think of me as a Lambo guy,
Yes.
but really, and he goes, yes. That's because that's the most prominent. But honestly, I'm a BMW guy. The name tells it all, right? I've always been about BMWs. When I was younger, I certainly had a Lamborghini on my wall. That was one of my inspiration. That was the dream car, right? So it was a Countach and Diablo. I had those two beautiful cars. Just like, but if you told me today if you told me then that I would actually own any of the things with a bull on it, I'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. But it was inspirational, right? So, my thought. Let me answer the question first about doing something like that. I think my approach to buying cars is buy the car that you love. It doesn't matter, that's the thing. I have an appreciation for cars of all. I'm not this person that is, I only like this segment, and I can have an appreciation for cars of many different vintages and many different styles, even from tuners to the old school big blocks or whatever, because I think a lot of folks will don't even think or will discount a car from the 50s or 60s. And the thing is, if you go back and learn the history of some of those cars, you'll understand how something evolved, or even things that are in cars today owe their existence to something way back then, right? And so I love going to car shows and going up to somebody who's got a Studebaker. I know nothing about Studebaker.
No.
Right? But the guy that owns it at that car show will pull out a book and an album and will tell you, and you learn a bunch of stuff. And oftentimes they can tie it to something. Well, you know what? The reason why, this car has this in the future that came up, and that's a great car, but it came out of this car. And you go, wow, I didn't know that. So I tend to have a great respect for cars that are not modern supercars, right? Vintage. And, a 70s or even mid 80s car, some people would say it's vintage. I think if it's before 1980, in my view, and as you get older and as you move along, what's vintage changes, right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this: what a great way, right? You love the i8 so much that, if you decide to keep it or not, either way, but if that's where your passion is, it probably fits into a budget that's better. But sometimes, some of these custom bills can be more expensive than going out and getting, a used exotic or whatever, a used sports car. So I actually like the idea, if you like the idea, right?
Yeah.
And that's the main goal there. For me personally, I'm a BMW guy. So if I were to go back to a car to the 80s, I think of some of the 3 Series. Frankly, one of my vintage cars that I would give anything for in a heartbeat, and I just don't have the garage space for it, but I would go back to it. I love the 2002. There's something about unique about that car that doesn't matter. To this day, it drives by, and you're just like, at least me, you're just like, wow, it literally turns heads. The 2002, 70s cars, right? Obviously, the 3 Series, the original, the E30 M3. I love that car. That will be one of the cars that will be in my garage at some point. I mean, they're getting out of control. The prices are going up, especially if you find a good quality one. So yeah, I mean, and if you ask me, is there an American, a vintage American car? I don't know if my buddy CA Corvette Matt's still on, but actually, I've always said the C2 split back, window in the back. It was split window in the back. That is a Corvette. Pat, right up your alley. American car. Yep. Would be the car, but I need to have a much bigger garage and all those sort of things. They're on the radar screen, but that's kind of me.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, man. And we've definitely had a great conversation, man. I don't want to belabor it all day because again I could sit here and talk for days about cars, and when I have the attention of the I-8 Authority and Pat and the and the original I-8 owner in North America, DoctaM3. This is a first in the I-8 community, and I hope what we captured today is something that a BMW novice could watch, a BMW executive could watch, a person that is longing for their dream car, the BMW i8, could sit and watch and gain something from it, to make a decision on how to obtain a BMW i8. Should they obtain a BMW i8? Because I still have plans to get a BMW i8 Roadster. So let me go ahead and say that for the books. That's what I'll end my car talk with. I do have aspirations of getting that Roadster, and in an ideal situation, whether I keep this one or not, if I move this one out of the way, sold it, and went old school for a while, I would double back a year from now or 2 at the most and get a 2019 Roadster, still under warranty at that point, and purchase the extended warranty as well, and have that peace of mind to have that car that I love, the i8. But the Roadster is really where I want to go. And with that, I told Pat when I first started hanging out with Pat online, I said if I got the Huracan, that was my plan. I would get the Huracan and double back and get a convertible i8, a newer model, more warranty and all that good stuff. So I've always had plans to own an i8 before I even encountered any maintenance issue or whatnot.
Sure.
Always had a plan. That's why I bought the 3-year extended maintenance plan. I didn't do the warranty, but I did the 3-year maintenance plan because I have plans to keep my car, man. Pat, anything you want? I want both of you guys. Anything y'all want to leave? Some closing points.
I'll let Doctor go first because I think you've said it all.
Well, I will say this. I will say that my experience with the i8 has been incredible. I've owned a variety of different cars, and I think that much like any other car, there are probably things you ought to be looking out for. There are risks that are there, but I don't. Knowing what I know now, and all the things that I've experienced, would I buy an i8 all over again, an i8 coupe? And the answer is absolutely. In fact, Eric, I will tell you the reason why I didn't buy. I was all in to buy the i8 Roadster. Until I realized when they actually released the design that it was a little less practical for my purposes, right? So when I travel, I carry-on would fit in the back seats. That's what I use my back seats for, right? Because my carry-on typically doesn't fit in the trunk at all. So bottom line is it became a little less practical, and that's one of the reasons I love the design. I wish they gave it a little bit more horsepower. to fully offset the additional weight of the convertible roof. But I will say this, that there's still nothing that looks like it. It's not a supercar, but hands down, it is an exotic car.
Yeah.
There's something unique about it, about how it makes you feel. I think when you see that e-boost and it throws you in, I mean, I drive higher power cars and it still gives you that feeling. I am telling you, I love this platform, and that's why I'm saying today that this particular car, especially, I've been one of the early ones. I've been fortunate. I'm keeping the i8, and I think it's great because it's a piece of equipment that will hold a special place in BMW history. I'm going to actually, in the process of doing that, I'm going to move over, and so that it actually comes in focus. That really is. So there it is.
Mine's is not here, no.
Well, you can dream on through us until yours get back. So with that, Pat, anything?
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you're going to continue to keep it. I hear a lot of folks after I started talking about some of the other issues saying it's time to sell, and it's good to know that, if you're okay with it, if you've had great experience with the car so far, you can afford to maintain it just like any other car. I mean, at that point, that's an inspiration to people. And I think if you ever have an opportunity to talk about, like, you can create a video, and I would love to challenge you. If you can create a video on the i8 to even say, look, I've owned this car, I've loved it, I'm aware that there's some problems out there, but my ownership experience has been great. That's something I would love to share with the i8 community as well, because I don't have that perspective right now. I have a whole lot of fear and anxiety coming from the i8 community, but I'm not hearing a whole lot of, this car is still great, and these are the reasons why I am going to keep it, because I think we need to hear that as well. So,
that's actually a great suggestion. And you know what? I'll do a video and put it in the context of maybe some of the other cars that I owned, right? Because I mean, listen, my recent exotic cars, virtually all of them, I bought them new. But the very first Lamborghini I bought was a Gallardo, which technically was also kind of new. But I can actually talk about that and put it maybe in some context, because it's true. You have to think about it in the context, whether if you're going out to buy it now as a used car, you need to put it in the context, because it's in some ways no different than buying theoretically a used Hellcat with somebody who is sort of just like hammered down all the time and maybe did donuts and stuff. I mean, there are things to look out for, and I think to put it in context. But I mean, I think what you've done is invaluable to the community. I think you need to talk about the good and the bad of it all. So,
thank you, and I'll look forward, if you're going to put out that ownership experience so far. I'll push that, because I want to make sure people get to see that as well, because I don't want to be the big Debbie Downer of the group.
Before I do that, I think I really have to go resurrect the family car. I think it's like, the reason why I didn't put it out, I think it was like 12 or 13 minutes, but actually I think it's a good one, and maybe if we can get that shared, because I have to put that one out. I realized just now that I never published that video.
Cool. There's one thing I am disappointed with today, DoctaM3, that I got to tell you, I'm disappointed about, sir. Pat, I got to tell him I'm disappointed about this DoctaM3. Let me tell you what I'm going to do when I hit 100,000. I'm going to make a chain and put the plaque as a charm.
Ooh.
I was expecting to see your plaque in the background, because it's an accomplishment having 100,000 subscribers, and I just think I don't know. I think people should know that and see that and really embrace that, man. So I just wanted to mess with you and say, man, you'll know when I hit 100,000. Let me say that.
How heavy is it? I mean, we haven't had our hands on this thing at DoctaM3. You need to tell us how heavy this plaque is before he wears it.
It really isn't that heavy. But I will tell you that the 1 million one is hefty. It's got some weight to it. enough to murder somebody. Okay, with but again, that represents, in many ways, for me, I don't even think that's me. I mean, I get there because of the people that watch. And so I did a short video when we did that, and I said thank you to folks, and I may have even done a giveaway or something. And you try to do that sort of stuff. But it is true testament to the commitment of you guys. And I would say, don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stick with it. The people will come. And there is value, and as long as there's stuff like this where people are talking together as a group and get help, so that's good.
Hey man, on that note, from a 100,000 subscriber YouTuber, we're gonna end this call. Thank you, Pat, of Pat's Garage Online. Thank you, DoctaM3. And you just bring a lot of value with the Huracans and the exotics and all the things that you do. I really enjoy watching your videos. I feel like I'm in the car of these cars that I currently can't afford, and it gives me a lot of hope and inspiration that I actually can obtain these things, because I see a fellow human being that has obtained these things through hard work in life, dedication, and just treating people right, man. I just see how you're moving, and I'm here to continue to take notes on how you move in life and how you move on YouTube, man. The same thing for you, Pat, man. So we're going to end the stream, guys, and we're going to have a little private conversation offline, and then we're going to go and do what we do on a Sunday, man. Y'all have a great one, man. It's your man, Evapors. Y'all know what we do around here. We swipe up. You know it. In the stream.
Excellent.
End.